Well, hey there, listeners. Welcome back to the show. Kath Langman here. This is, of course, the podcast for all you ambitious productpreneurs who refuse to compromise on quality whilst you are building your lucrative empire. And if you caught last week's episode, which was all about Black Friday strategies for brands that don't want to be, you know, caught out in the deep discounting cycle and not playing along with that game, then if you haven't listened to that one, then definitely go and give that one a go. And today we're going to talk about what to do after Black Friday ends, particularly, if you really want to be attracting those kinds of customers that want to stick around for the long term. And, what can you do to ensure that you give yourself the best chance of winning those kinds of customers and keeping them? Now, I want to share a bit of a sobering statistic to start with that will make you rethink a lot about your Black Friday strategy. 80% of Black Friday customers never purchase from the same brand again. So, I mean, let that sink in for a moment. If you think about it, 4 out of 5 people who bought from you during your biggest sales promotion of the year will never come back. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. And if you are gunning to build a high quality premium brand versus, not a mass market discount type brand, then it absolutely shouldn't be this way. So, of course, last week on the show, we talked about how to run a Black Friday campaign that really does protect your margins and ideally elevates your brand into that kind of value add positioning rather than the really big deep discounting position. But what happens after Black Friday promo ends? How do you ensure that those new customers don't just disappear into the abyss of internet land, never to be seen again? So today I want to share some of the retention strategies that I like to use. I like to use this kind of a strategy post any large sale campaign. Obviously, Black Friday is generally the biggest. Ideally, we want to transform any of these bargain hunters into more valuable long-term customers. And, because here's what a lot of brands get completely wrong. They think that Black Friday is just about sales volume. But if you are trying to build a premium brand, Black Friday should be about customer acquisition. So the real money isn't made just during that weekend or that few days, however long you decide to run your Black Friday promo. It's going to be made in the months that follow. So I want to walk you through a strategy about it's a little bit of a framework for how you can activate advocates, your brand advocates. So it's a bit of a systematic approach to turn more of those one-time Black Friday buyers into your passionate brand advocates who not only buy repeatedly, but also become a powerful marketing asset. So let's start by understanding why most Black Friday customers do just disappear faster than a pavlova at a Christmas barbecue. First, there's the discount hangover. When customers buy primarily because of a big discount, their relationship with your brand is very transactional, not emotional. They're not going to be as loyal to you just because of that transactional nature. They're going to be loyal to the deal. So when full price shopping resumes, they tend to bounce off. And I've, seen this play out with countless brands over many years now, and it's become an endemic and cyclical problem where, customers just wait around for the next discount. They never buy at full price. So these sorts of brands will have a massive Black Friday promotion, often their biggest sales days of the year, and there's a lot of hype around that. And I know you know what I'm talking about. And then December will roll around and it's absolute crickets. Email open rates plummet, website traffic drops off a cliff, and those thousands of new customers that they just acquired, they're gone. And then there's what I call the one and done mentality. Many Black Friday shoppers are specifically hunting for deals, and we know that. right? But you know, they're really not about building relationships. So they might be buying Christmas gifts, they might be looking for personal bargains, or just, you know, got caught up in some kind of shopping frenzy, and they never intended to become loyal customers. But here's where it can get really interesting, and this is backed up by some data from premium brands across Australia and New Zealand. When you implement proper post Black Friday retention strategies, you can actually flip these statistics completely. So instead of 80% never returning, you can bring 60 to 70% repeat purchase rates within the first 6 months. So one premium skincare brand that I've worked with, not my own, but before that, their Black Friday customer lifetime value increased 340% after implementing this kind of a framework, post-sale framework that I'm going to give you the overview of. And, you know, they weren't the discount hunters anymore. They'd become brand advocates. So the key insight is this: the way you treat your Black Friday customers in the first weeks after their purchase, days and weeks after their purchase, determines whether they will become lifelong advocates or just stay one-time bargain hunters. Now, I really don't think that you're going to convert everyone into a long-term brand advocate. That's probably unrealistic, but you know, we definitely want to lift the stats, well above the common. Most brands, I do think, make the fatal mistake of treating Black Friday customers exactly the same as all their regular customers, uh, outside of those peak sales moments. But your Black Friday customers or any peak sale promotion customers really do need a different nurture sequence, because they did enter your ecosystem under different circumstances, right? So let me walk you through the stages of this kind of advocate activation framework. And uh, let's go straight into stage one. So this first week, I do believe is absolutely critical. You know, you can kind of think of it like rolling out the red carpet for these new customers, right? And, you know, your Black Friday customers need to understand that they didn't just buy a widget, they've joined something a little bit special. I mean, I hope that you feel like your business and your brand is something special, and that there's something special about it that you really want your customers to appreciate, right? So the moment their order ships, you know, you could send something like a welcome to the brand family, or a community welcome of some kind. And you know, this isn't just a standard shipping notification. I definitely want this to be separate. You know, a beautifully designed message that positions their purchase as the beginning of a relationship and not the end of a transaction. You might roll your eyes at me using that sort of turn of phrase, but you know, evidence does show that lots of buyers now do want to make purchase decisions based off, you know, their own personal values, or finding brands that share those personal values, and that they want to have, you know, they want to feel connected. You know, they don't want to just pursue a transactional nature. Um, and so here's what this could look like in practice. A interior decor brand might send a welcome email with a subject line like "Welcome to brand name community," and then include the customer's first name, so it's personalized. And inside, you could have a personal video from the founder explaining the craftsmanship behind their purchase, maybe an invitation to join their exclusive Facebook group, and an access to maybe some interior design masterclass, like a series of videos on how to get the most from their products. And, you know, if you think about the psychology here, it's quite crucial. You're immediately shifting them from discount buyer to community member, and you're providing education and value beyond the product themselves. And then you could move into some kind of how to enhance the unboxing experience. I mean, obviously, you probably wouldn't say it like that, but you know, including styling tips for their purchase, complimentary product suggestions, user-generated content from other customers showing how they use the products. So this is not selling in the slightest. You're really just trying to inspire the customer and set them up for, you know, the absolute best success with your products. Then after that, they might receive a founder's story email where you could share the deeper purpose behind your brand, maybe your sustainability commitments or your local manufacturing story, whatever it is that makes your brand authentic, makes it, high quality, innovative, premium, that sort of thing. And the idea here is to be building emotional connection again beyond the product. So the goal of stage one is very simple. It's just to roll out that red carpet and help them fall in love with your brand story and not just the product. Second stage would be, week 2 and 3 after purchase. And this would be all about demonstrating ongoing value that really doesn't have anything to do with selling more products. So this is where brands can separate themselves from the mass market discount retailers. And so instead of immediately trying to sell more stuff, you focus on maximizing the value that they get from their existing purchase. So this is something that my skincare brand is really working hard to achieve. So our customers receive access to their Conscious Beauty Collective, which is an exclusive group. So they receive, their content they receive that others don't get. It might be about ingredients, application techniques, seasonal skincare tips. There's a personal quiz, skin analysis quiz that gives some customized advice. And we share a lot of educational content about how we support the communities who grow the produce for our hero ingredients, and about the science behind each active ingredient and much, much more. So if you notice what's happening here, or what the goal here, you're positioning your brand as the expert authority in your space. You're providing that extra value, you're going the extra mile here, and that your competitors rather can't replicate because it is very specific to your expertise and product knowledge. And I'll give you another example. For a beautiful homewares brand, this might look like interior design tips, seasonal styling guides, or access to maybe a podcast about your craftspeople. For a fitness brand, it could be exclusive workout content, nutrition guides, or access to their community of athletes. The key is that this content should be genuinely valuable and exclusive to your customers. So it's not marketing fluff, it is genuine expertise that helps them get better results with their purchase. So by the end of stage 2, your customers should be starting to feel like they've received a whole lot more value than what they actually paid for, even if it was at full price. Stage 3 would be a bit of a soft introduction. So now we are moving into subtle sales territory. But notice the timing, we were only 3 weeks post-purchase. It's unlikely, although not unheard of, but it is unlikely that many customers would have bought again by this point. But what we've done is build massive trust and delivered massive value. And so now we can start introducing complementary products, but we can do it strategically. So this isn't just about, being a hard-nosed salesperson. This is really about trying to complete their experience. Oftentimes, a first purchase really is for a customer just dipping their toe into seeing if this is a brand that they really like and a product that they really like, right? So there would be a good proportion of customers who are keen to, if they've really enjoyed or are enjoying that first purchase, that they would be keen to complete that experience. An example for a premium tea brand could be this. After 3 weeks of educational content about things like tea ceremonies, health benefits, sourcing stories, they could then send an email titled something like Complete Your Tea Ritual, and it could feature their ceramic teaware collection and maybe also some complimentary tea blends, but positioning this as enhancing the experience they're already having with their tea. So this kind of an email would not be screaming buy now, in capitals with an exclamation mark with, all the scarcity messaging and et cetera, et cetera. Instead, it would be, telling the story of how the ceramics are handcrafted by local artisans, or how maybe a specific glaze enhances the tea's flavor profile, or whatever might be relevant here, of course, but, ideally also including customer stories about, their complete tea rituals. Super engaging, types of content, right? Consider my skincare brand. After weeks of educational content, we might introduce their complete care collection with the messaging, you've mastered the fundamentals. Are you ready for the next level? We haven't done that yet, but it is on the cards. And the psychology here is progression, not desperation. You're inviting them to deepen their relationship with your brand category and not just to buy more stuff. Crucially, these sorts of emails and messages should include social proof from other customers who've already progressed on this journey. UGC showing complete setups, before and after results, or transformation stories are, always going to be really persuasive messaging at this point versus a brand talking just about itself. Then we would move into stage 4, the community integration. And this stage is all about making them feel genuinely part of your brand community. So this is where one-time buyers transform into brand advocates. So you're inviting them to into experiences that money can't generally buy, or at least, that they can't get from your competitors. So a nutrition supplement brand I've seen do this really well. They create community challenges in their private group, and they would be, or they are, health health and nutrition goals that their customers work toward together. They share recipes and instructions and have other sorts of engaging activities going on in their private Facebook group. And participants, they get exclusive coaching content, peer support, special offers, and definitely recognition from the brand. And, it makes them feel really special. So the key is that these sorts of community experiences should be feeling exclusive and valuable. So it definitely isn't just about selling, it is about belonging. And so during this stage, you're also encouraging that kind of UGC content, but in strategic ways. A niche women's fashion brand that I worked with recently uh, runs. Oh, I mean, she just does an excellent job of getting customers to be super involved and sharing photos of how they wear their pieces, how they style their pieces, and and that gets then featured on the brand's social channels as well, which is a bit of a perk and a reward for participation that that particular brand's customers enjoy. But the goal ultimately is to just make your customers feel seen, valued, and part of something bigger than just a purchase. And then stage 5 is the advocate invitation. And by now, your customers have experienced your brand values, they've received ongoing value from you, they're integrated with your community, they've begun to see themselves as part of your brand story. It becomes a bit of their self-identity in a way. So now you can invite them to become advocates. Again, you might not use that language, right? But what I am getting at here is this isn't just really about asking for reviews or referrals. It's about inviting them to kind of co-create with you a little bit. I've seen a skincare brand that I love, not mine this time, but I do love this idea that invites some of their most engaged customers to be almost like product development partners. They get to have some input and participation in new formulations and testing prototypes and having first access to new products and things like that. And these customers ultimately feel like they're helping to shape the brand's future. Of course, they're going to advocate and share, spread the word. Which is pretty amazing. I've seen the protein brand True Protein create what appears to be a bit of an organized elite ambassador group. Don't know that they name it that, but it's passionate customers. They're maybe uh, in the fitness game in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not pro athletes, but but they're these passionate customers. They get early access to products and promotions and opportunities to collaborate on limited edition pieces. And the advocacy kind of happens naturally because they genuinely love being part of the brand's world or the brand's universe. They share because they want to bring others into this experience and not necessarily because you've asked them to or that you are paying them to, right? And a beautiful part of this is these sorts of advocates have dramatically higher lifetime values. They buy new launches immediately, they rarely price shop, and they refer far more friends and family who also then go on to become high value customers. So it is, in my opinion, pretty well worth going through the effort of uh, trying to activate your new customers and walk them through this journey to become advocates. Now, let's talk quickly about how you might measure the success of implementing these sorts of strategies because, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, right? And there are definitely many brands out there who don't track the right metrics. They might just look at basic things like email open rates or number of website visitors. But for customer retention, you definitely need to focus on some of these behavioral metrics that predict long-term value, which of course Klaviyo makes super easy now with their recency, frequency, monetary data analytics and predictive analytics plan. But what you want to be looking at, the 30, 60, 90-day repeat purchase rates from your Black Friday cohort. So that's the first thing that you want to look at. Ideally, you want to see increasing percentages at each milestone. And a healthy brand should be seeing 15 to 20% repeat purchase rate within 30 days, up to, 35, 45% within 60 days, and, even higher than that within 90 days. But secondly, you want to be looking at the engagement progression metrics. Are your Black Friday customers moving through this content journey? Are they opening your educational emails? Are they engaging with your community content or participating in, any exclusive events that you might run or whatever it is that you include in that new customer rolling out the red carpet activity? You can look at your net promoter score specific to your Black Friday cohort. How likely are these customers to recommend you to friends? If you track this sort of thing, you definitely want to track it at 30, 60, and 90 days. And you should see scores increasing over that period of time as they move through your advocacy framework. And fourth, and this one's really critical, you want to be your customer lifetime value. You want to be comparing that, so comparing the lifetime value of Black Friday customers who went through this kind of retention framework versus those who didn't. And the difference, I would hope, it should be dramatic, right? So let's take one brand, a premium brand that I worked with. This is a good couple of years ago. But, we were able to roll out this kind of welcome series and, really rolling out the red carpet for new customers post the sale event. And the lifetime value of those customers was literally 4 times higher than those who didn't engage with the retention sequence. So finally, you definitely want to be tracking advocacy behaviors just generally. How many of your customers, especially the ones who you acquired through Black Friday, how many of them are generating, maybe some UGC? How many of them are referring friends? How many of them are participating in any other kind of community content that you're sharing? These sorts of things are the lead indicators of long-term brand advocacy. So the goal isn't just customer retention. It's about kind of transforming from a discount buyer into a brand advocate. I mean, I can guarantee not only is your revenue going to go up long term, but your profitability will increase massively. Now, before I wrap it up, I want to share the biggest mistakes that I see premium brands make with post Black Friday retention. And the first one is treating these customers the same as your regular customers. Customers who enter into your ecosystem in a discount sale event like Black Friday, they're entering that ecosystem differently. And so they need different nurturing. Well, they may not, if you are a brand who just discounts constantly, then this is going to be the same for every day, but hopefully that's not you. And then mistake number two is jumping straight into sales mode right from, after that first first purchase. I see brands doing this all the time, like immediately sending an email. Hey, did you love your purchase? Here's 20% off your next order. And those emails go out within days of delivery. And that honestly is just reinforcing the discount mentality instead of building any kind of brand value. And then mistake number 3 is generic content. Your retention content should be specific to what they purchased and relevant to their journey with your brand. Mass market content isn't going to cut it if you are trying to build a premium brand, a brand that is not a mass market or discount brand. And then mistake number 4 is not giving them time to fall in love with their purchase. You do need to give them a little bit of time for that, at least 2 to 3 weeks of value delivery before introducing additional products. And then maybe the biggest mistake is just not having any kind of a systematic approach. I mean, you probably, if you've listened to this show a few times, you would know that I tend towards having a systematic approach to everything in marketing. But at this point, ad hoc emails and random content that you blast out in your broadcast campaigns is not going to work. It's not going to build advocacy. You really do need a structured framework with clear objectives for this part of your marketing system. So here's what I really want you to understand, and that is that the brands that master post-Black Friday retention don't just have higher customer lifetime values, they build a competitive moat that is almost impossible for competitors to replicate. When your customers become genuine advocates, when they feel like they're part of your brand community, and when they co-create with you, that's not something that a competitor can easily steal with better pricing or just, slicker marketing and bigger advertising budgets. But implementing this kind of framework does require a really deep understanding of your specific customer journey, your brand positioning, and your competitive landscape. So the devil is in the execution details here. Now, if you're thinking, hey, Kath, this makes perfect sense, but I feel like I need a little bit of help designing this specifically for my brand and my customers. And so if that's you, then we would definitely love to give you that kind of help. And it's exactly what our e-commerce growth strategy sessions are built for. So that is the first step, is to just book in for one of those free strategy sessions. And so we can look at what does your plans from here to the end of the year look like and into the new year, from here to Black Friday, and how do we get the acquisition, and then how do we transition into activating those customers into brand advocates. And we can help you, really design all of the timing, the content, the touch points, and all of that works with your market position. And, of course, show you how you can measure it and track your ROI and continuously improve. So obviously we're not going to do all of that in just one strategy session, but that's the pathway. So if you'd like to start getting the help to personalize this for your own brand, book in for a free e-commerce growth strategy session with me and my team. You can do that by heading to productpreneurmarketing.com/let's-talk. I will include the link to that on the show notes for this episode, or you can just head to our website. It's in the you'll find a link in the top menu. But remember, spots are limited. It's a long deep dive session. It's not a light overview. And so there's only so much time in our calendar. So if you want to get in, jump on it now. I'm going to leave you with one final thought though. Your Black Friday success isn't measured just by the sales numbers that you convert in that promotion period. It should be measured by how many of those customers are still buying from you, still recommending you, and still co-creating with you 12 months later. So until then, focus on building advocates, not just customers. And I'll be in your ears again on the show next week. Bye for now.